What's going on, everybody? I hope you had a great weekend. We're back. Time for another NBA Live Before Lock. Today, we're sponsored by Prize Picks, and I am joined with the world's #1 XFL fan, Neil Orfield, who I'm still stunned by his choice of beers. I'm going to make him defend it in a second here, but what you guys are going to do for us is like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Helps us out a whole bunch, and it's only a couple clicks of the button for you. Now, Neil, formerly known as the Flannel God. You've broken out the flannel in some recent shows, not today, though. Explain to the people what beer you are drinking and what flavor it is.
All right, so I am drinking a Prize Monkey Bar beer, which is a local Minnesota beer. The flavors are with banana, chocolate, peanut butter, and marshmallow. Jordan was just asking me why I would drink a beer with all those flavors, and the reason is because I love all of those flavors. So I saw a beer with these flavors on it, and I just got sidetracked. It's also pretty strong. And as you know, Greg, I have to run for each of my beers. And anytime I have any kind of drink, it's kind of a cheap beer because it's 11% alcohol by volume and it's a full pint. So it's like relative to like a Coors Light. I'm basically getting 2 beers for the price of one. I'm cheating myself here. I'm the only person who I'm cheating here, but a little bit of a cheap beer. But also the reason that you saw me examining it is because I just read that I was supposed to roll this beer before I pour it, and I failed to roll it. So maybe there's a lot of sediment at the bottom or something.
And then what do you're just supposed to roll it back and forth like it's a rolling pin?
I've never seen this before, but yeah, I guess you put it on the ground and you roll it, and that's supposed to like mix it up. People in chat not loving my beer. Peter Wysocki said
I'm frankly still horrified because so for people who want to know, before we start the show, Neil's always pouring himself something, right? He's pouring it into his Timberwolves mug or whatever, and he's really, really intently reading the label of the beer. So right away I go, something's up, because he's reading this way too closely. Like he's got it right up to his face. He's leaned over looking like there's something abnormal in that beer. And then I asked him what it was, and he's listening to all the flavors. I go, this is terrible. But I didn't want to address it until we actually got on to the show. And it seems like the entirety of the chat is against
they disapprove. On this one. They disapprove of my beer. You know what? I stand by it. I love banana. I love peanut butter. I love marshmallow is the one weird thing that I would have probably preferred not to have in here, but like peanut butter, banana, these are my flavors. These are flavors. It's even like artificial banana flavoring, artificial peanut butter flavoring. I just love that stuff. So I thought it'd be good. It's not honestly my favorite beer.
Yeah, I'd rather just have a monkey flavored beer. Just give me the monkey flavor. I don't need the banana, the s'mores, the marshmallow, whatever else is involved. Some of the comments, by the way, in YouTube chat, we have from here. Peter Wysocki is saying that is not a beer. I tend to agree with it. And then we've got, let's see, who else is in here? We've got Jackoff. Jackoff is saying that is fermented testicle juice.
I've never realized that his name is Jackoff.
Yeah.
I've seen it in chat a lot. I've never read it out loud.
Yeah,
Jackoff.
Jackoff. It's like a Bart Simpson name from The Simpsons, maybe called Mo.
On the MLB strategy show this morning, there was somebody whose name was Mike Hawk Jaganoff or something. And I didn't fall for it. Of course, I read it just now anyway. I said that, repeated it anyway, but he was trying to get me to read off his name, saying really nice things to us so that we would read them. But
I had a counselor at camp when I was a kid whose name was Mike Rack.
That's good. That's good too.
Yeah, but that was like his actual name. That's not like a joke name he made. His parents named him Mike Rack.
I had a 7th grade speech teacher whose last name was Butt, like actually pronounced. No, maybe it was actually supposed to pronounce Butt, but it was spelled Butt, which isn't. I mean, that's just his last name. It's not even like a putting the names together kind of thing.
And by the way, the best comment in the chat about your beer, Javon Watts. Even an alcoholic wouldn't drink that. Javon wins the comments for everybody who commented on the beer that Neil is drinking. But yeah, horrified. That sounds absolutely terrible. And I have a feeling you paid a good amount for that as well.
I think it was like $17 for a 4-pack of these pints. So yeah, it's craft beer. But I'm supporting a local brewery that generally makes good beers.
Yeah, but if this is what they're making, then I wouldn't support them.
It's not my favorite. I've said it already. I've already apologized. It's not my favorite beer. I'm not recommending the beer. It's the last one that I have. I just have to get through it. Yeah. But I don't hate it. It's a little bit too sweet for me, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, really the banana chocolate marshmallow beer is sweet.
I mean, yeah, it's more than a hint though. It's like actually kind of sweet.
Yeah, that beer is targeted at 15-year-old girls, Neil.
Well, I bet a 15-year-old girl would love it.
Well, that would be the only one. I can't imagine anybody else liking it. Certainly not, chat. We also have a basketball game today between the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers, and two potential sweeps on tap for us. We've got Denver up 3-0 on the Lakers, and then tomorrow it is going to be the Miami Heat up 3-0 on the Boston Celtics. And I'm wondering, Neil, and we'll talk more about some of the players as we go. If you guys have any questions, super chats, add us in Discord. We'll be answering them. Does anything that happened yesterday impact how you might approach this game at all in terms of, we saw the Celtics yesterday, looked like a team that was already defeated. It were down fairly early in the game, and they just simply rolled over and had no intention, it seemed like, of showing up for that game once they faced any amount of adversity. Is there a part of you that is maybe a little more apt to build lineups towards a blowout game script after what we saw yesterday and thinking that could be something that repeats?
Based on that one game sample size after tens of seasons of no, that's not going to affect what I'm doing here. Sure, it's a possibility. It's always a possibility that the Lakers are going to feel defeated after getting down 0-3, but it's LeBron. You gotta imagine that LeBron, one of the more competitive players in the game. I think he's going to put in full effort. This is a win or go home game for the Lakers, so I don't think it's affecting what I'm doing here at all.
And then I'm curious to see what the starting lineups look like, and I believe we have not gotten that yet, but double checking to make sure it didn't come across in the last couple of minutes, and it is not. We could see a totally different starting lineup for the Lakers today. This could be something that we haven't seen yet. D'Angelo Russell has been terrible in this series, and I'm sure is that like a silver lining for you as a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, by the way, to see how poorly D'Angelo Russell is playing?
I mean, I guess it makes me feel a little bit better that we didn't give up D'Lo and then watch him crush like Andrew Wiggins, like anybody else who ever leaves Minnesota. So yeah, a little bit.
I'm curious. I really am interested. So of all of the players that we have projected to be in the rotation today, we have D'Angelo Russell for the lowest ownership, sub 10%, but he's fairly expensive. And I think there's a chance that he is just out of the starting lineup today, but we're going to need some confirmation on that, and should be coming in relatively soon because the game starts in 52 minutes here. Something else, there have been rumors that, well, by the way, this has been going on for multiple games now, where we see the tweets like Mo Bamba available to play, could be in the Lakers rotation, then he never plays. We actually do him project for nearly 20% ownership today on DraftKings, and then on FanDuel, Mo Bamba projected for 3% ownership. So a lot less there, but also has to do with the difference in salary because the min price just a lot lower on DraftKings than FanDuel. So that's going to be something else to keep note of. Rui Hachimura is really popular again because his price never changes, even though it seems like he's really cemented a role for himself with the Lakers. I wasn't sure that it was going to stick, but at this point, potentially only one game left in the Lakers season, and he's been the Lakers' probably fourth best player, right? We've got I think pretty unquestionably, although maybe people push back against this, I think the Lakers' best player has been AD, LeBron second, Austin Reeves third, and Rui fourth. And Rui's price point has just never changed over the course of this series. He's at, well, a little bit, but not significantly, 4,600 on DK. And then on FanDuel, we've got Rui at 7,500. So a popular value play on both sides. But we'll see. We'll see what that starting lineup ends up looking like, because that could definitely change what some of the ownership projections look like and who it is that we're going to want to get to. But where I think we should start with this, Neil, is at the top, because we've got 3 stars in this game. And we'll start by talking about it from a DraftKings perspective, because DraftKings is quite a bit different than FanDuel in terms of some of the pricing today. But we've got Nikola Jokic at 13.6. We've got LeBron James at 12,000, AD at 11.6. By the way, one other thing before, do we want to consider Jamal Murray in the start tier now? Do we consider him with AD, LeBron, and AD at this point?
Ooh, probably, yeah, I would say so.
All right, so let's put all 4 of them together then. So we've got these four all priced above 10K on DraftKings. If you can only pay up for one player, including the ownership as a consideration, because we've got Nikola Jokic a little bit more popular than the other guys, 65% owned overall, 22% of that coming in the captain spot. If you're only rostering one pay up option today, which of these four guys are you going to?
It's probably still Jokic. He's way expensive now, up to 13,600. We do have him at 43% ownership. We also have him projected 13 and a half points better than the second best player on the slate. Just projects so much better. And I don't know that the mid range is enough better than the cheap options that they can make up for that gap. So I think that it's probably Jokic. I ran a crunch of, I just want to see what I would get running a crunch of 500 lineups with zero randomness on, just the 500 optimal lineups. Essentially, I got to Jokic in like 90+% of lineups in either the captain or the utility spot in these lineups. Now, of course, these are just the optimal lineups. Maybe if you're trying to leave salary on the table, it might be helpful to go somewhere else. But Jokic just he projects so well that he's getting into all of the optimal lineups. So he's probably still my favorite here. How about you?
Yeah, totally makes sense. I mean, the ceiling for him is just so insane, and you got a chance for the Nuggets just put this series totally out of reach. One thing that, once again, just talk about last night's game for a second that kind of surprised me. The Celtics down 2-0. They didn't play the starters in the fourth quarter. They just pulled everybody and were like, hey, blowout, not even going for it. So that was something I saw as a little bit interesting. But I can't imagine the Lakers or the Nuggets doing that in this spot. And the Nuggets with a chance to just put the series away today. I do imagine we're going to get still full extended minutes out of Jokic. And if the game is, just remotely close, I think we're going to see Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic really get extended in the fourth quarter. So Jokic has gotten to be really expensive. There is a little bit of an opportunity cost. With that in mind, I do prefer him in the utility spot to the captain just because of some of the flexibility it gives me, because it is a little bit difficult, I find at least, and it'll be different when we talk about FanDuel, but for DraftKings purposes, 13.6 for Jokic in the utility, and then 20,400 in the captain spot. There's such limited lineup construction options if you're going with Jokic in the captain. Is that an issue you're running into, or are you still okay with all the ownership that's going to my captain?
Yeah, I mean, so again, just based on running the optimal lineups, I still actually was overweight to the field on Joker in the captain spot. I had him 66% in the util, 28% in the captain spot. These are not my actual lineups, to be clear. These are just the 500 optimal lineups. He is being, they are getting to him a lot more in the util than the captain spot. And then if you do try to leave any kind of salary on the table, you're trying to factor in like ways to get unique. I think it is going to be easier to play Joker in the util. So yeah, I think that it's probably my preference as well to have him in the util.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, when it comes to Nikola Jokic and the captain, I do wonder, of lineups that have him there, like how frequently are they going to be duped? Because there's only so many options you could have once you get to Jokic and the captain because of salary constraints. So, we'll see what ends up happening. People do seem to be playing Mo Bamba. We'll see though, because we constantly get these tweets like Mo Bamba might be available to play, and then ultimately the game starts and then he's not available to play. So I'm still not 100% certain that he's going to be, even though he's ruled active, I don't think that means he's going to be in the rotation. But I do think that's something that a lot of people are going to Mo Bamba to enable them to pay up to Nikola Jokic. And let's talk about it from a FanDuel standpoint now, because there's no multiplier on FanDuel, right? The salary is just what the salary is. So when you have Nikola Jokic over on FanDuel, is the most expensive player on the slate at 17,500, but you don't have to pay a multiplier salary for him in the MVP spot. He's projected for 44.9% ownership in the MVP. So Neil, do we want to eat the chalk with Jokic at MVP on FanDuel? Do we want to go somewhere? Because you play anybody else at MVP on FanDuel and you're being somewhat different with your lineup. Do you just ride with the chalk at Jokic, or do you try to differentiate by going somewhere else?
I think if you have Jokic in your lineup, I would be more inclined to have him in the MVP spot than like getting different by playing AD in the, I don't even know if it would be possible to play AD in the MVP and then Jokic in the star. I'm going back and forth. As I'm saying this, I'm questioning myself because I'm thinking that's probably a way that you could use a good amount of your salary and still maybe avoid some dupes, is using Joker in the star spot instead of the MVP. I wouldn't use him anywhere else in your life. It would be one of those two spots only if you think it's possible that somebody else can outperform him. Uh, I think that the ownership is about right. 44% MVP for Jokic sounds reasonable to me. I mean, he's does that sound about the likelihood that Jokic ends up as the highest scorer on the slate? Because it seems about right to me.
It's really hard to like. It's really hard to. I'd say it's probably about right, but the other side of it is like even if the odds are correct, it's what do you win when Jokic is the highest scorer
True.
relative to other players, and he's going to be so overwhelmingly popular at the MVP. Here's what I think you're going to do: if you're playing Jokic at MVP, you have to do one of two things. You either have to leave a bunch of salary on the table, or you have to get unique with your star and pro spot. If you're playing Jokic at MVP, and you're going like, hey, Anthony Davis, Aaron Gordon at the pro, or say Austin Reeves at the pro, and then you're using all the salary, you're not really giving yourself a realistic chance to win. Like, sure, you might win and tie with 300 other people,
Right.
but like long term, that's not really a good strategy. So with that in mind, number one, I mean, this is just a difficult slate, in my opinion, to play on FanDuel, but I would be more apt to I'd be more apt to get away from Jokic at the MVP spot and go to Anthony Davis.
I mean, with blocks and steals on FanDuel as well, I think that is definitely reasonable. There is a 20-point gap in their projection at MVP, but as you said, we're concerned about, especially on a single game slate, you do have to worry a good amount about dupes. So I don't hate the idea of going to Davis at MVP. I wonder how often you can get to both of them in a lineup. I guess I'm looking through. I'm running some optimal lineups right now, and I do have some with both. Actually, plenty with both Joker and either LeBron or Davis. You're not getting all three. But yeah, that seems like a reasonable way to get away from some of the most duped lineups. So I don't hate that idea.
One other thing interesting about FanDuel, Jamal Murray more expensive than LeBron James on FanDuel, which is not the case over on DraftKings, but definitely something that caught my eye a little bit. But now with that said, I do want to talk about this because I've been pretty consistent with this for the last few games now. Of the pay up options in this series, my least favorite remains LeBron James. And I cannot believe on DraftKings that LeBron is as expensive as he is because I'm going to say the same thing I've said the last couple of games when it comes about the Lakers. LeBron James is still very, very good, but he's not the same player he was as he was a few years ago. And he's still priced like he's that player he was from a few years ago. And I just don't think he should be more expensive than Anthony Davis on DraftKings by 400. That's crazy to me. On FanDuel, it's not crazy that he's less expensive than Jamal Murray. Maybe not how I would have priced it, but I understand why. DraftKings, especially when you consider the ownership gap, isn't that significant. You got Anthony Davis is projected for 53% ownership overall. LeBron James at 48%, 14% captain ownership to Anthony Davis, 12% to LeBron. Just considering the ceilings we've seen from this player, it's hard for me to pay $12,000 in utility, $18,000 in the captain spot for LeBron James when we just haven't really seen the same upside from him in the postseason. There was a long time I thought that at the start of the postseason, like, he's just reserving himself for later in the postseason. And then I just kind of came around to, I don't think he has that gear to get to anymore. So I think that's definitely been something that's hurt the Lakers in this series, is that just by far overall, I think Jokic is the best player that we have in this series. But my least favorite guy, LeBron James, of the pay up options. Of the four we have to choose from, Jokic, AD, LeBron, Murray. LeBron is my least favorite. Do you agree with me? Or is there a different one that you like the least of those four?
It would probably still be Murray for me. It is, LeBron back against the wall. I think there's a world in which LeBron expends all of his energy because this is a win or go home game, and he's an older player. He's conserving his energy, reserving his energies, and some games perhaps, probably not too much in the playoffs, but at this point it's win or go home. Have to imagine that LeBron is going all out. I mean, he's probably going all out any day, but might get a little bit more usage, might take things into his own hands a little bit more. Not something that I'm really factoring in all that much, but it's a narrative that I think I could play, and it's pretty close for me between LeBron and Jamal Murray anyway. So then when you factor in that the Lakers are in a win or go home spot, I maybe break the tie towards LeBron a little bit over Jamal Murray.
15 postseason games for LeBron. He has scored over 60 fantasy points 3 times, and those are games of 63, 61, and 60. And the one game where he scored 63, his high watermark, was an overtime game where he played 46 minutes. So people in the chat are saying, don't disrespect LeBron. I don't really think this is being disrespectful. It's just the reality of what his fantasy outputs have been. He has not shown the same ceiling as guys like Nikola Jokic or Anthony Davis. And that is really just a matter of fact. So, like I said before, LeBron James has scored over 60 fantasy points 3 times the entire postseason. Nikola Jokic is regularly putting up those kind of numbers. In fact, Nikola Jokic is averaging over the last 12 games over 70 fantasy points. So LeBron James has had 3 games the entire postseason with over 60, whereas you're getting an average of over 70 for Nikola Jokic as of late. So I don't really think it's disrespectful to LeBron in any way to say that Nikola Jokic has been a better fantasy producer. Just kind of what it's been. Same goes for Anthony Davis. So my favorite pay up option from Denver, I'm going to lean towards Jokic. My favorite pay up option from the Lakers is going to be Anthony Davis over LeBron. But one thing I want to ask you about for FanDuel purposes, Neil, does that equation change for you at all where he's the cheapest of the 4 pay-ups?
Good question. I mean, it's still clearly Jokic for me, number 1, Davis, number 2. Yeah, I mean, we still have LeBron at 14. I think it's still the same order for me. Jokic, Davis, LeBron, Murray for me.
And we got a super chat here from Brandon Wagner. He says, just tuning in, does Mo Bamba see any run? I tend to think not. He could. I'm going to say no. So the other part of this too is it's not like Mo Bamba was a guaranteed part of the Lakers rotation in the regular season when he was healthy, right? There was a ton of times where he was available to play and just wasn't active. So is this like, I mean, how desperate? I mean, I guess, they're down 3-0. They're as desperate as they could be. But Mo Bamba, is he going to be the answer? Probably not. I mean, the realistic part of this, too, is that the Lakers probably don't have the answer on their roster, which is why they're down 3-0 at this point in the series. But my best guess is that Mo Bamba does not play. Are you going to be playing Mo Bamba or taking any shots on him tonight?
I'm not. I'm only playing 21 lineups. Not playing Bamba in any of mine. We've got him at 18% now. Like if he were super low owned, I might try to play the the Lakers need to change something up and they haven't had him available, so maybe they want to try something new, some kind of narrative. But at 18% ownership, I'm willing to just fade that narrative.
Yeah, and it's hard to say, right? Because we've been hearing over the course of the postseason, like, hey, the Lakers might play Mo Bamba, and then he hasn't been available, even though he's active today. Like I said before, I don't think that guarantees him any sort of minutes. So I am not somebody who I really want to go there, especially because he's projected for ownership, right? It would be different if there was a chance that Mo Bamba was going to play and nobody was rostering him. I feel different about it than the fact that he's projected for nearly 20% ownership. Like the field's already getting there in a fairly aggressive way.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a matter of like, I'd be willing to take a shot if the ownership wasn't there, but because we've got 18% ownership projected for him, I just don't see a reason.
And can we get the starting lineup for the Lakers anytime soon? It would be really helpful.
Like if D'Lo is starting and we haven't projected for very little ownership, I'm going to have interested. But if he's out of the starting lineup, it gets a lot harder to play D'Lo.
Shout out to Jet Wayman, who left us a super chat, said, I appreciate all the great content all season, guys. Thank you. We appreciate it. And, I know the NBA season is wrapping up, but don't forget that we've still got baseball here. There's still baseball to talk about, and we've got all the great tools at Stochastic available for baseball, as well as for every single DFS sport out there. So if you guys are signing up for a Stochastic Platinum package, that's going to cover you for basketball. It's going to cover you for baseball. It's going to cover you for anything you could think of. We got all of it covered over here. Player projections, ownership projections, tools, data, and you could sign up for the first time using the link we have below. It's going to get you 50% off the first package you sign up for. And like I said, you get a platinum package. It's going to cover everything for you. And then also gets you access to our Discord channel where I need to check if we've gotten any questions yet. So looking in our Discord channel, and Discord gives me some of the weirdest notifications when I open it up sometimes. Does it ever give you updates and there's like weird cartoon characters on screen?
It does not do that for me.
Yeah, well, that was what just happened when I opened it up. Anyway, no questions. If you guys have questions for me, throw those into the Discord chat and we can start answering some of them. But let's talk about the next tier of players. And I kind of wanted to put this off because I was hoping that we were going to be getting that starting lineup sometime around here. So it would make it a little bit easier to talk about some of these players. But let's start with the Denver side. And then hopefully in the game starts in 35 minutes. We should know sooner rather than later if D'Angelo Russell is starting or not. But let's look at the Denver side first. We've got players in the mid-range like Michael Porter Jr., like Aaron Gordon, like Bruce Brown, all projected for right around 30-ish% ownership. Are any of these guys on the Denver side of the game ones you're getting to more than the others?
I'm getting to the most of MPJ currently. He is getting the most ownership overall. I haven't done anything to really try to change up what I'm getting here, but I'm trying to decide if I have any real strong take. I was going to love Aaron Gordon if the field was going to fade him because he's been not that great in general. I was hoping that the field might not get there. We still have Aaron Gordon projected for 26% ownership though. So I'm like, all right, not really getting him at any kind of ownership discount. I guess maybe it's a slight ownership discount. It would be Bruce Brown last for me. I might say Aaron Gordon ahead of Michael Porter Jr. just because I think there's a chance that it's more likely that Aaron Gordon's ownership is suppressed than MPJ's. And he's generally, I mean, I guess even for the year, no, for the year they both had 0.99 fantasy points per minute during the season. Got to think that Aaron Gordon still has as much upside as Michael Porter Jr. So I'll go Gordon 1, MPJ 2, Bruce Brown 3.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that Aaron Gordon should have been an all-star this year. And there we go. We just got the Lakers starting lineup. Going to address that in a second because it is a different one. So it's going to change some stuff for us. But I just want to finish this thought on Aaron Gordon. Then we'll talk about the Lakers starting lineup. No D'Angelo Russell in the starting lineup. It is Rui Hachimura moving into the starting unit. So we'll talk about that in a second. But the Aaron Gordon situation, no fantasy production from the last 4 games. He's actually scored under 20 fantasy points in 4 in a row. I have a feeling that's definitely going to make people want to avoid him. So I don't mind getting overweight to the field on him because we saw him play really well over the course of the regular season. In fact, if you remember, Neil, at the All-Star break, it's funny how much things change. Nobody was clamoring for Jamal Murray to be an all-star midway through the season. They were for Aaron Gordon, though. That's how the players were being perceived at that point in the season. So there's a ceiling in Aaron Gordon, even if he hasn't shown it recently. And I do think it makes sense to buy low on him. But let's talk about the starting lineup for the Los Angeles Lakers because Dennis Schroeder starting at point guard, no D'Angelo Russell. So Schroeder, Reeves, LeBron, Rui Hachimura, Anthony Davis. We've got Rui in the starting lineup. No D'Angelo Russell in the starting lineup. Is there a chance that D'Lo isn't even in the rotation today?
I wouldn't think so. I would expect D'Lo to play some minutes here. It might even be like, I'm debating, like, do I want to play any D'Lo? Because the ownership is going to be so minimal with D'Lo coming off the bench. Big question marks here. They could use him. Like, he would make sense as a 6th man who can score off the bench. So I can see a world in which D'Lo plays, minutes off the bench, like significant minutes, but I don't think that I really want to go to D'Lo. I suspect he's going to be in the rotation. They traded for D'Lo. Have to think they want to play him here. But it's not a good sign that he's being benched. I mean, it's definitely do you think there's a chance that he doesn't play at all? Like literally see 0 minutes?
Yeah, he's been terrible.
How much of a chance?
I've been playing him in these contests. Yeah, he's been terrible. I've been playing him. I know. Yeah. I've seen the fantasy points. So there's still an upside for him, but it's so many hurdles to clear because there is a chance that he doesn't play at all. The times he's been on the court, he's been terrible this series. So you need him to play minutes still, which I think is dubious, right? If you ask me to guess, does he play or not play? My best guess is still he plays. But your question was, is there a chance he doesn't play? Yes, there's a chance he doesn't play.
Sure.
So with that in mind, there's a chance D'Angelo Russell doesn't play. If he plays, there's a very good chance he plays poorly because that's what he's done in this entire series. The other part of this too is even if he plays and he plays decently, does he produce fantasy points, right? Because the minutes are going to be down. He's still fairly expensive. He is $7K on DraftKings. On FanDuel, we have D'Lo priced at $8,000. So you need him to go out there, be in the rotation, play decent minutes, play well. And then he also has to outscore all of the guys who are priced around him because, you got the mid-range, you got Aaron Gordon, you got Michael Porter Jr., Austin Reeves. It just seems like a fairly low probability outcome. And even though we have him projected for fairly low ownership, the lowest ownership of any player we're expecting to be in the rotation today, we've got D'Lo projected for 10% ownership on DraftKings. All those things I just laid out and everything he's facing, I actually do think that he's probably less than 10% likely to be in an optimal lineup.
Okay, less than 10% likely. I'm curious where his ownership is going to go now that we have confirmed out of the starting lineup. Like, do you think it could be like 3%? Because at 3% on a 1-game slate, I think I'd have to think pretty hard about whether I want to play some D'Lo. My guess is that it's still going to be above that. There's going to be enough people who just want to play the names that they know. Um, but I mean, it's just the only reason we're considering him, obviously, is that it is a 1 game slate. Like you're not considering D'Lo on a 4 game slate, even at this kind of ownership. On a 1 game slate where he might be getting like 4% ownership or something, I still think that there's a case to be made for him. Like, yes, there are obstacles. He needs to outperform, as you said, all those guys. Aaron Gordon doesn't need to outperform Michael Porter Jr., but like they're pretty close in salary. So Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, KCP, there are a number of players that he needs to outscore, but he can certainly do it. And like, we don't like to play the narratives game. We're very much a database company, but we have to like recognize that there is a human element to player gets benched. Sometimes they're going to come out firing away, like just wanting to prove themselves, taking more shots. So I think that if you're playing the narrative a little bit, there's a chance that D'Lo is reinvigorated coming off the bench to an extent. So you can make an argument for it. I don't think I'm going to get there. I'm debating though. I am debating just because it is a 1 game slate. I'm trying to build lineups that are not going to be duplicated. And I think that there aren't that many really great ways to do so.
Yeah. And I mean, from an ownership standpoint, it's like it's a 1 game slate. You can make a case for anybody, but for me, this isn't the spot where I would want to be going to Russell, particularly when he's listening and making one lineup. Just wouldn't be that for me. And I do think there's a real risk that he ends up not playing any minutes. Now let's address the other parts of them. By the way, Denver started same as always, which shouldn't be surprising. They're up 3-0 in the series. Why going to change anything? But for them, Murray, KCP, Porter Jr., Gordon, and Jokic. But the other spot of this game is we've got Dennis Schroeder now starting ahead of D'Angelo Russell. I think that has to make Dennis Schroeder one of the top value plays in this game. He is $4,400 over on DraftKings. And let me refresh ownership to see if we have anything changed here. And yes, we do. But is this not from the starting lineup change? So anyway, we have Dennis Schroeder is $4,400 on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, Dennis Schroeder is $7K. That's one of the best value plays on the slate now that he's confirmed the starting lineup. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the best. We've only got him in for 29 minutes and 18 fantasy points right now. I'm wondering if that is not updated yet. I'm not sure we had him in before. So maybe we see an uptick there. But yeah, starting Dennis Schroeder at 4,400 definitely seems like one of the safest options here.
Yeah, and the other thing, well, let's see what his ownership looks like, because I was about to say that he is, under-owned relative to what I want to get of him, but I have a feeling that's going to change once we get all the projections and ownership projections updated in the next couple minutes or so. The other part of this now, Rui Hachimura in the starting lineup. Rui was already expected to be uber popular. I guess he becomes more popular, but how much more room does he have to go up from here? Like, he was already projected for 52% ownership overall. He was projected to be the most popular player in the captain spot, who is not one of the 4 stars in the game. So captain ownership, Jokic 1, Anthony Davis 2, LeBron 3, Jamal Murray 4. Rui was already expected to be the 5th most popular captain. Like, is he going to pass Jamal Murray or LeBron James in captain ownership? I assume not. So Rui is another guy who is going to be Do you think he gets considerably more popular based on him already being expected for north of 50% ownership?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think he'll get more ownership. I could see like 70%. I don't think that he's going to get up to like 90% ownership.
Yeah, we'll see where that comes in. We'll definitely read it up when it comes out.
How much do you think it helps him to be starting? Like, it feels like it's tough to play alongside both LeBron and like more minutes alongside both LeBron and AD seems a little bit tough, but.
So for Rui, I kind of think it hurts him.
Right.
But on the other side too, he's so cheap that I think it doesn't really matter. And I think that the downside or the down tick in usage is probably going to be offset by an uptick in minutes.
Sure.
So to me, it's just going to be like, does the ownership projection come out and he's like 90% owned or something like that? Then I'm not going to feel as great about him. But if he's going to remain right around 50%, then I just still think of him as an elite value play. Him and Dennis Schroeder, the 2 best value plays on the slate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're the 2 like safest for sure value plays. The ownership is going to be there. But yeah, definitely they feel like the safest value plays here.
Anybody else that really significantly changes for you from the Lakers based on this recent news?
I mean, it's obviously it hurts Jared Vanderbilt. Like it makes him he was already played 13 minutes in a start last game. Makes him that much scarier to play. Um, I don't know that it really affects anybody else all that much. I'm trying to think if there are any other angles in terms of like people who are going to be forced to play together who otherwise wouldn't be. I don't really think it changes that much else for me. Does it change anything else for you?
No, I mean Vanderbilt was somebody who I liked as a value option when he was starting, just from a standpoint of not even that I expected that much from him, but it's like some of the best lineups in the last showdown contest had Jared Vanderbilt in them, and he scored like 4 fantasy points just because he was cheap and scored some amount of fantasy points. Like there's value to that, but I don't even know he's guaranteed to be in the rotation today. So I'm not a ton of interest in Vanderbilt for me. Let me just see. Oh, by the way, we have refreshed ownership now. So reading off some of the changes. Here's what's, by the way, D'Angelo Russell is now more popular.
Huh.
So is Rui. Dennis Schroeder about the same. So Rui's gone up a little bit, not massively so. We got Rui went from 52% ownership to 55. There's only so much wiggle room for him to become more popular.
Right. There's 45% wiggle room.
Yeah, yeah. Like he's not going to be a project for 100% ownership.
Yeah.
And the same thing with D'Lo too. It's like, how much could he go down? It's a 1-game slate. We have a total of 17 players right now that we have projected for ownership. When there's only that many players, you can't really have somebody who's only projected for like 2 or 3% ownership. So I don't think it's unreasonable for Russell to come in around 10%.
Right. I don't either. I'm surprised to see it go up with him not starting, but only went up slightly.
The FanDuel side of things, we have Rui projected for 33.5% ownership overall. I think Rui's underowned on FanDuel at $7,500. I think Dennis Schroeder is undervalued on FanDuel at 23.5% ownership. I think those are both numbers that I would not be surprised to, or both numbers that I think we should be overweight to. I don't think the field is getting to those guys enough on FanDuel, whereas DraftKings, we're seeing, pretty good ownership on Rui. So I like getting to those guys there. Here's one way that I'll ask you this, though. Between Dennis Schroeder and Rui Hachimura are priced fairly similarly on FanDuel and DraftKings. Who's your preference between the two of them?
I'd say Schroeder. Just being the point guard, not having to fight for rebounds the way Rui does with AD and LeBron now, seems a little bit safer to me to play Schroeder there. I guess he has the risk of D'Lo like coming in and playing well and maybe taking back some of the minutes. So it's close between those two, but I think do I mean it? I don't know that I mean it. So we have Rui at 46% ownership. We have Schroeder at 27. Yeah, at these ownership levels, I'm going to go with Schroeder. How about you?
And we just got a super chat here. By the way, same for me. And it's also because we've got Schroeder project for about half the ownership of Rui right now. And I just don't think Rui outscores him like 2-1. They're the two best value plays on the slate, but if it's just like a 1v1, who to prefer, I'm going to lean towards Dennis Schroeder. Super chat from Colin Mahone. Colin saying D'Lo is cooked. So one thing about that, D'Lo was actually really good in the regular season. I understand given how he's played the last few games, it's very hard for the Lakers to justify playing him. I don't think he's like totally washed. I just think this is not his series. Yeah. But that aside, Colin is saying that Lonnie Walker will come off the bench ahead of him, and then D'Lo's plus minus series minus 53. Yeah, everybody's plus minus in the series is a little bit shit for the Lakers, though, because they're down 3-0 in the series. But it wouldn't shock me if Lonnie Walker is ahead of D'Lo in the rotation. It wouldn't totally shock me. We have Lonnie Walker projected at $7K for 13% ownership on FanDuel. On DraftKings, we have him projected for 29% ownership. I'm still more apt to get to Dennis Schroeder and Rui Hachimura than Lonnie Walker. But how about yourself? Do you feel differently about that? Do you feel like Lonnie Walker's projected to be fairly popular today, right around 30% ownership? So we've got almost the same ownership on Lonnie Walker as we do on Dennis Schroeder. With that in mind, I'm going to lean towards Schroeder as the starter.
I actually, looking at my lineups, I have more Lonnie Walker right now in my latest crunch, and that is because I'm leaving salary on the table. So it just happened in my latest crunch with leaving salary on the table. I'm getting to more Lonnie Walker. I'm not like comfortable with. I think Schroeder is clearly a safer play, probably a better play overall at similar ownership. Yeah, definitely a better play overall at similar ownership. But I'm also okay with what I'm getting. I'm getting to 43% Lonnie Walker in my 21 lineups. It's not. I'm not going out of my way to get to Lonnie Walker, but I think there's a real chance that Jared Vanderbilt doesn't really play significantly at all. There's a real chance Mo Bamba doesn't. So I could see Lonnie Walker being like outscoring everybody below him in price. I guess Jeff Green being the other one, Christian Brown a little bit, but he might be the best cheap option. Like he is 1,400 cheaper than Dennis Schroeder. You might need a cheap guy in there to make the lineup work. So I think that Lonnie Walker is a good play.
By the way, we just have another ownership update that came across and is changing stuff a little bit here. We've got Rui now projected for 56% ownership on DraftKings, Schroeder 39%. So boosts a little bit. Schroeder went up more than Rui did because Rui, 56, still really popular, but not that far removed from the 52%. D'Lo is now down to 5.5% ownership on DraftKings. And then if we go and look at FanDuel, Rui is now at 36%, Schroeder at 28%, and then Russell at 21% over on FanDuel. So more changes on DraftKings than were on FanDuel, but definitely some little minor updates there. Got some super chats that have come in as well as questions in Discord. So we'll hit on those now. First, my filler arc is saying Davis or Jokic if Hachimura is the captain on DK. Jokic. Anytime it's a 1v1 Jokic versus anybody, I'm going to answer Jokic. Next super chat is from Brandon Wagner. How chalky will Rui at captain be now that he's starting? And then he also said, fuck D'Lo, which means he'll crush my soul again. Very possibly. But let's see. We've got Rui is now projected for 10.6% ownership in the captain spot. So we've got, so he's past LeBron in captain ownership. We've now got number 1 is Jokic, 2 is AD, 3 Jamal Murray, 4 Rui, 5 LeBron. So Rui's popular at the captain, but I don't think like 10.6% is problematic. Do you?
I have more than that. I have double that. So yeah, no problem for me.
Yep. Yeah. No issues there with Rui. He's somewhat popular, but I think 10% is plenty justified considering he's starting in his price point. Darren Unger is saying for FanDuel, Davis and Porter or LeBron and Reeves. I'm gonna go with Davis and Porter. Also, the other thing too, the stats on FanDuel with defensive stats being worth 3 instead of 2, that sets up a little bit better for Anthony Davis. So I prefer him to LeBron in a pretty big way. And then, I kind of prefer Michael Porter Jr. to Austin Reeves relative to ownership as well. So Davis and Porter over LeBron and Reeves for me. Like I said, LeBron's my least favorite of the pay-ups today.
Yeah, I feel like the upside on Davis on FanDuel in particular is just a lot higher than LeBron. So I'm with you on that pairing.
And now we will get into Discord. Although first, just going to shout out to everybody here that if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks yet, they're the sponsor of our show. And if you sign up using the link that we have below in the description box, you're going to get 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. In addition to that, you are also going to get a deposit bonus of up to $100. So all the reason to go check out our deal with Prize Picks, up to $100 bonus on your first deposit and 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. All the data and tools we have on the paywall, you'll have at your fingertips just by signing up at Prize Picks. And then if you guys also are looking to play at Prize Picks, go check out our Pick'em Pro package. If you sign up using the link we have below, you could get access for less than $5. And we've had some people who are really crushing using our projections. We've got one guy, Hutch Boy. If you guys are in our chalkboard channel, which is totally free to join, Hutch is in there fairly constantly posting, talking about the different bets he has. And he posted some of his betting results on Twitter. Been crushing. He made over $2,000 last week. And he posted stacking units like it's my job, up 2K this week. Too many singles to send all of the screenshots, but the summary tell of the story. Power to the tools. Thank you all at Stochastic.com. And shout out to the chalkboard fam. And then he added myself and Lofty. But yeah, posted all his betting results. Made a little over $2,000 last week. So if you guys want access to those projections, use the link we have below and you could get access for less than $5. Now getting into Discord, AskDG, contrarian captions on DK and most flex exposure. So the flex players I get the most of, still guys like Jokic and AD, but on the cheap side, Rui and Dennis Schroeder. If you're getting contrarian at captain, who's your favorite contrarian captain, Neil?
Does Rui count? Because it would be Rui for me if 9.4% counts.
Let's go with anybody who isn't the 5 most popular captains.
Oh, that's your cutoff. You're cutting me off from Rui. Okay.
Yeah. So no LeBron, no Murray, no Rui, no AD, no Jokic. If you're playing anybody other than those at captain, who are you going to?
I'm gonna go. It's kind of a toss up for me between Aaron Gordon and Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder, we've got at 4%, Aaron Gordon at 2%. I think both of those are really interesting numbers. I think I'll go with Schroeder because of what he allows me to do with the rest of my lineup.
That's my answer as well. Dennis Schroeder, he's more popular in the utility spot than he was before, but 5% captain ownership is pretty modest, especially when you consider the price point on 4,400 in the utility, 6,600 in the captain. It is hard to get up to all the stars that we want to in this game. One of the ways it's most reasonable is to play, a relatively not popular Dennis Schroeder at the captain. So I think that's a good way to go. And another thing too is a lot of the field who's going to be going cheap at captain are going to be going to Rui. So if you guys are playing, say, single entry, I think a great way to deviate your single entry lineup. A lot of people are going to be playing Rui and Dennis Schroeder, but Rui is going to be the more popular captain. Just swap that, right? Go Dennis Schroeder at the captain, Rui in the utility. And I think that's a pretty good way to mix up the lineup a little bit. Then we've got Sean Sullivan. Sean is asking us thoughts on Reeves at captain. They need offense from somewhere. It's funny as if like LeBron and AD isn't enough offense. Austin Reeves is the guy. I understand the sentiment though.
Yeah.
I actually think he's a little bit too popular at the captain. When he's projected for 5% captain ownership, Schroeder's at 5% as well. Like I'd rather take the salary savings with Schroeder. Reeves to me is kind of in no man's land in terms of pricing and ownership at the captain spot. So I don't really love him as captain, but is he somebody you're getting too much exposure to there?
I don't have any Austin Reeves in my 21 lineups. Yeah, 6% seems fair for Austin Reeves. That's where we've got him projected right now.
The next question is from DraftKings. He wants to know same thing. Favorite single entry captain on DK. I'm going to stick with Schroeder. Next question is from Boss Bro. Wants to know favorite pro spot play on FanDuel. Let me go to FanDuel, refresh our most recent ownership, and see what is. By the way, another ownership update just came in from a minute ago. And yeah, no real crazy significant changes. But looking at FanDuel, we've got Michael Porter Jr., Austin Reeves, Bruce Brown are all projected for north of 10% ownership at the captain spot. Nobody else in the pro spot over on FanDuel. So now I think we're looking at who has the most upside between these guys who are priced kind of comparably. Aaron Gordon's 8,500, KCP's 9K, Rui's 7,500, Dennis Schroeder is 7K. Of those guys, I'm going to actually go towards Aaron Gordon. 8% ownership in the pro spot, so not all that much. 8,500. It's just, who do you think score? If it's just head to head, who would you bet scores more between Aaron Gordon and Rui? I would still go with Aaron Gordon in that spot, and they have comparable ownership. So I'm going to go Gordon in the pro spot. Do you like him in the multiplier spot on FanDuel, or would you rather go to a Rui or a Dennis Schroeder or something like that?
So I'm currently running with the updated projections. I'm running a new set of 500 lineups on FanDuel just to see who I end up with in the pro spot. Currently, it is Aaron Gordon is number one. And these are just the 500 optimal lineups. So obviously, it doesn't take into account ownership, but I do have Aaron Gordon in the pro spot more than anybody else in these lineups. And what do you say we have projected for single digit ownership there?
8%.
Yeah, it'd probably be Rui at 8%. I think that's it's low enough. Aaron Gordon at 8%. I think that's low enough ownership that I'm willing to go there.
All right, there we go. So Aaron Gordon for the two of us. That is going to be our answer for the pro spot over on FanDuel. Thank you, Boss Bro, for the question in Discord. We do appreciate it. And only some of these have been going fast lately, these shows. Only 11 minutes left. But another super chat here from Luke Stone. He's saying, my current lineup doesn't have Jokic or AD. Please talk me out of this. It's not. I mean, so like I could, if the highest score from the Lakers is LeBron over AD, that's feasible.
Mm-hmm.
Is it feasible that Jamal Murray has a big game if Jokic doesn't? Yeah, it's within the realm of possibility. It's not my favorite lineup build at all. But if you're looking to be contrarian, it's a one-game slate. I could get it. But no, I would say that if you are trying to be contrarian, I would probably just leave salary on the table instead of fading Jokic and AD.
I don't totally hate it. I mean, I'm trying to see if I'm curious if I have any lineups. I probably don't have any lineups that don't have either of Jokic or AD, but I imagine you could get to some lineups that have LeBron, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Austin Reeves, and some. I guess we have 6 players here, but there might be some lineups that make sense with neither of them. But yeah, I don't think that I have any lineups with neither of them. Just for the record, I still don't. I wouldn't say that I hate it. I think that there are ways that it works out if you are able to get all of those mid-range guys plus LeBron into a lineup. If you fade Jokic and AD, it's not the end of the world, but it's not the way I'm going.
I want to see what would be my highest. Let's see. All right. I'm going to take AD and Jokic out of the player pool and see what kind of lineups that gets me. So no shock at all. You're getting to LeBron at captain and Jamal Murray at utility. It's more salary savings than are necessary. So here's one of the issues is if you take AD and Jokic both out, then you're probably not getting to. So here's what the line, here's by the way, highest projected lineup without either of them. LeBron James at captain, then it was Jamal Murray, Austin Reeves, Michael Porter Jr., Rui Hachimura, Jeff Green. I really don't love that starting lineup, right? I'd rather just be going to probably like a few $1,000s cheaper, right? You turn Austin Reeves or Michael Porter Jr. into Dennis Schroeder, and then you're upgrading like Jamal Murray or LeBron into Jokic or AD. And that to me is just a much better looking lineup.
It is. So I did the same exercise, of course. I'm just running 500 lineups just to see what kind of lineups. I don't hate the second one I get to is LeBron at captain with Jamal Murray, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Rui Hachimura, and Lonnie Walker. I could see this one working out if Aaron Gordon, MPJ, Jamal Murray, and LeBron all do really well. Keep it close enough to like if LeBron outscores AD. This one also uses full salary. Yeah, they're not my favorite lineups with neither of them.
I'd say you probably want one of them. Doesn't have to be both, but my lineups, based on the ones I built, like you said before, nearly all of them are going to have one of them. Fading both of them, a little bit too risky for me, especially considering their upside. Super chat from Corey Bomber, Murray at captain and KCP utility, or Michael Porter Jr. captain and Murray at utility.
The latter.
Same. I think Michael Porter Jr. has a ceiling that makes him kind of like a sneaky captain play.
Yep.
And I don't love KCP. He's somebody who, especially with the value plays that have become available for the Lakers with Schroeder and with Rui both starting, I don't really get to a lot of KCP. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of KCP. I've got, I guess, a couple, but no, yeah, I'm not playing a ton of. Actually, no, I was looking at the wrong one here. I have 0 KCP.
Yeah, I don't love getting to KCP. It's just the price point becomes kind of unnecessary. And then also, if you're looking at the ceiling of these players, right? So the mid-range guys that we've got Austin Reeves, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, KCP. There's a floor for KCP. I think he's the lowest ceiling of all those guys, though.
Agreed.
And let's see, let me refresh. What is his ownership again? Because I still think he was somewhat popular, right? KCP. I mean, it's relative, but he still projects for over 20% ownership.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot on a single game slate.
Yeah. So no for me on the KCP there, which is going to have me leaning towards, like you said, the latter. Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. Now let's see what else we have in Discord. If anybody else has questions, if not, we can take the next few minutes to look at some of the projections we have on Prize Picks, so we can give people a couple of Prize Picks plays to wrap this up. Since Prize Picks is the sponsor, you sign up using the link we have below. So I'm sure you heard before, Neil, 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Did you build out any Prize Picks cards earlier?
Oh yeah, I tweeted one out earlier, and most of the picks are still available now. I think I lost one of them, but really like a lot of the unders on assist props. Also, can't quit this Jamal Murray over 6 assist prop. It keeps on looking good in our tools. Doesn't always hit, but like last game, I think he had 0 at halftime. Maybe he had 1 right at the end of the first half, and then 5 in the second half to push it. Just feels like if he just puts it together for 2 halves, he could easily exceed 6 assists. But yeah, a lot of the classics are back. Under 3.5 assists for Jaylen Brown, been working out pretty regularly. Under 5 assists for Jason Tatum, generally working out. Yeah, a lot of different bets that I like here on Prize Picks.
Yep, LeBron James. Here's our 3 highest projected ones in the Pick'em Pro tool. LeBron James under 8.5 assists. Jamal Murray over 6 assists. And then Nikola Jokic over 10 assists. By the way, sports books have Jokic at 10.5 assists and get him at 10 at Prize Picks. So it goes to show a little bit of the line shopping value that's available. And if anybody like myself is in a state where has legalized sports betting and you're not able to play on Prize Picks, my favorite bet of the day that I placed is Michael Porter Jr. under 7.5 rebounds. Pretty big rebound prop for Michael Porter Jr. I prefer the underside of that. Double checking to make sure there aren't any outstanding questions. Sorry, do something you were going to say there?
I was going to say that I bet that one. And of course, he then got like 10 rebounds in the second half, the last game, MPJ. So that was disappointing. But I thought this is interesting. I got tweeted at by Matt Butler. Says the Lakers have one lineup that has played 10 plus minutes versus the Nuggets and a positive net rating. It's been extremely successful. They're plus 33.4 with the starting lineup today. Schroeder, Rui, Reeves, LeBron, AD is the only lineup that has played together any significant minutes, and it's actually doing well against Jokic and Murray. So that's kind of interesting. Little tidbit there.
I mean, such a small sample size. It's so hard to read into a lot of this playoff stuff too. Like, I still don't know what to make of the Miami Heat. Like, they've been playing ridiculously well in the postseason. This was a 500 team in the regular season. They're an 8 seed that's on the precipice of making it to the NBA Finals. So sometimes you see playoffs, different beast. A few minutes left. You guys haven't done it yet. Do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Neil, who's winning tonight's game?
The Nuggets. I have to imagine it's going to be the Nuggets. I just, at this point, although I'm not building around the potential blowout, I just think the Nuggets are the superior team pretty clearly. So if I had to guess, it's going to be the Nuggets. How about you?
I'm going to go with Denver as well for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm a Jokic. So actually, maybe I should say the Lakers, because my pick before the series was Denver in 5. Ooh. So I would, but we're already here. I'm going to go Denver for the sweep, because that means that I wouldn't have to work Wednesday night.
That's true. You could get a night off,
which never happens. Never happens for me.
You're first in 6 months.
Yeah, which means somehow this is what's actually going to happen. Somehow both series are going to go 7 games, and then the show, and then I'm going to be doing like 3-hour watch along shows or something like that. That'll be fun. Yeah, that's what's actually going to happen. But in an ideal world, my Denver Nuggets close this out. Nikola Jokic from Mainstream starts to get the respect he deserves. Did you see Lisa Salter's quote the other day, where she said that she felt she had disrespected Jokic and she feels differently after having seen him play for the first time?
I did see that.
She's been like a premier sideline reporter for ESPN for like 15 years. Yeah. And she's never seen Nikola Jokic, a back-to-back MVP play before. I don't even know how that's possible.
Greg, I'm not just going to let it slide that you just called them your Nuggets. Like they're your team. You can't just like claim the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals for the first time as your team.
No. I claim Nikola Jokic though, because I bet him to win MVP the last 2 years when he won MVP.
Okay. All right. So you've been a little bit of a Nuggets fan because you love Jokic, because you're cheering for Jokic.
So one other thing too, DraftKings sends out those reports at the end of each season, which player you've rostered the most.
Oh yeah.
It has been Jokic for me like 6 years running as my most rostered player.
Wow. Okay. You see this super chat from Jamie Moore?
Jamie Moore, Greg, I care about you. Don't poke the Jimmy Bear. Listen, he's afraid of me.
Yeah.
We have been trying to get this charity boxing match organized for a very long time, and he continually ducks me.
Probably the only way you get him in a ring is to poke the bear.
There's only 2 things here. He's either afraid of me, he hates kids, or both.
Probably both, if I know Jimmy Butler.
Probably. Let me just double check, make sure that there are no more questions for us in Discord.
If there are, it's too late.
And there are no questions. So, we just got one here from Jay Porter or Reeves. Doesn't matter. I'll say Porter, but it's a toss up. Either one, and it's generally fine. But that's going to do it for us today, guys. If you have not done it yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's go Denver. Go for the sweep today. Nikola Jokic, MVP, 2-time MVP, and is going to win an NBA championship this year as well. Let's go Nikola Jokic. Let's go Denver Nuggets. Have a good night, everybody. Good luck.